menaju.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Yeah, I haven't done a video about the Kona for quite a while, so today I thought I would cover a quick video on what it's like owning the car for 12 months. How's the car standing up to the test of time? Now, yeah, it's only 12 months, well, 14 months for me, 14,000 miles, but how has the car stood up compared to how I thought it would when I first bought it? And yes, when I first placed the order for the Kona Electric, I was a little concerned. I'd never bought a Kia or a Hyundai before. I'd never bought a Korean car. I didn't know what the quality would be like. I didn't know whether it would last. I didn't know whether it would be back in the dealer for all sorts of faults. So I was apprehensive because it was the first time of doing that. And yeah, the JD Power surveys said Kia and Hyundai were right at the top of reliability, so it gave me confidence. But knowing that I was buying an electric car, a Kona, which was a new car to Hyundai, I did expect issues. I did expect there to be new car niggles. I was used to buying cars like a Vauxhall Vectra, a Renault Clio and a Ford Fiesta, cars that have been on the market for years and years and tried and tested, and therefore you don't expect issues to go wrong with it. But the Kona was a new car for Hyundai, and the Kona Electric, yeah, the drivetrain new as well. So what actually happened and what's the car like? Well, let's start with the outside. As you can see here, the car looks pretty good. This is winter conditions. I've just given it a wash and coated it with Bouncers SI, and yeah, it comes up really good. It actually looks as good as new, and the same is inside as well. If you clean it thoroughly, then it comes up like new as well, apart from the side bolsters of the seats. Now I'll cover that separately in just a moment. But the outside paintwork, I've heard some people say they think it's thin and they don't think it's very good. I found in my Ford Fiesta, for example, driving at over 70 miles an hour, you'd basically get chips on your paint from flies hitting the car. It was wafer thin. But this Hyundai, 14,000 miles, I've had it a year, no chips. The paintwork's brand new. I've had stones hit the windscreen, the bonnet, the roof. You know, there have been all sorts of loud noises. You think, oh my God, that's going to be the first chip on the car. But so far, nothing. Not a one. So the car is like new on the outside. I'm very, very happy with the paintwork. I think it is of a good quality, especially the lacquer. The lacquer must be really hard in my opinion. And if it is, then that's good, because even the paint swirls, you can polish those out and it won't be too thin. Inside as well, you can see here with some of the videos that I've shot, the silvery plastics issues in the center console. You know, you start to think, oh, is that cheap? Will it last? Will it scratch as you're dragging keys across and all sorts of things in the middle? And no, that's lasted quite well. The air conditioning controls, they're still like new as well. The media controls, nothing's worn out at all. And the buttons that I use the most are the buttons on the steering wheel. Those are still like new. None of the markers are wearing at all. The controls are still tight, so even in the indicators, etc., there's no sloppy movement or anything. It still feels brand new. The steering wheel doesn't look worn. Nothing on the car feels old, feels a year old. Once it's cleaned, polished and cared for, it looks like new again. It really is the same as having a brand new car. I'd almost argue that my car now is better than new, because some of the warranty issues have been fixed and the recall issues have been fixed, and this car's got intelligent speed limit warning, which the new models coming through don't have unless you pay for it as an extra. So yeah, this car is still as new and absolutely brilliant in my opinion. So if you're thinking about buying a Kona and Kona Electric and aren't sure about Hyundai and their reliability and their quality, I just can't fault it. Yeah, there are issues. I've had three recalls on the car in total. They haven't really bothered me. I've taken it into the dealer. The dealer's been excellent, and they've been very quick to resolve. I don't really know what they were fixing and what they were doing. There was nothing that I could tell was wrong with the car, but it was recalled and bits were fixed on the car. I hadn't had that with Ford or Renault before, but I think that's the issue again, that this is a more new car to Hyundai, and being the electric as well, it's new to them, so things will crop up that need fixing more than a car that they've been producing for, you know, a decade or more, and they're very, very used to shipping millions of the cars. So things have worked out as expected. Faults that I've handed it back in on warranty, there have only been two. There was a clunk on the front, which was the left side drive shaft. Whether that was a fault with the component or a fault with fitting at the factory, I don't know, but it's quite common with the Kona. This clunking noise when you're really slow speed pulling out of a parking space and turning 90 degrees, you'd get this clunk noise, and it was almost like a seized ball joint sound, if you can remember what that used to feel like in some old cars. So yeah, that went straight back in under warranty, fixed the parts. I mean, drive shaft sounds expensive. I thought, yeah, that's a nasty sounding thing, but £239 for the parts I saw in the invoice. So it's not an expensive item, and I was happy to get that fixed. I also had the driver's side window seal that was letting in a little bit of water, so the dealer replaced that under warranty as well. And the last item is a rattle. The only rattle in the car comes from this area with these plastic items joined together. There's a resonance and I hear a rattle. It's so minor that no one else in the car can hear it. It's just me. I'm the only one that can hear it. The dealer looked for it. They couldn't really find exactly what it was, but they fiddled and greased things and made it a lot better. It's almost gone, so I'm not bothered about taking it back to the dealer to be fixed again. But it is a common issue with the cars. I think the plastic's just a little too thin, and it's very easy. I guess when fitting it, if they put some sealant in there as well, that would probably do it. So really minor, and that's the summary of the car over 12 months. The things that are wrong with the car, if any, are minor. Nothing has gone wrong with the car that I'm concerned about. Online, through social media, I've heard a few people with Ioniqs and Konas having 12-volt battery failures. Half of them, from what I can see, are because people have left parts of the car on and have worn the battery down, or a door hasn't been fitted correctly, and hence the interior lights have gone. I haven't had that issue. I do see messages come up saying that the 12-volt battery has been recharged, because it does that automatically from the main battery if you have the option set. So there really just isn't anything to concern you about buying the car and thinking, will it last, will it go wrong? Everything just looks and feels new, and if I'd have known this when I first ordered the car, I would have been a lot happier and a lot more confident about buying it. Again, going back to when I first bought the car, I wanted to buy an EV that would last, an EV that would stand the test of time. I knew more cars were coming out. There would be a lot more. There would be a rush of them as the major manufacturers started to produce electric cars. And I wanted my car to last, not be something that was out of date within a year. I feared for things like the 40 kilowatt Nissan Leaf. I feared that would be superseded because it was old technology. It seemed like an older car. The 64 kilowatt hour Kona seemed much newer, and also, well, Hyundai are well renowned for their drivetrain. The Ioniq is still, in my opinion, the most efficient EV you can buy in the world. The Model 3 is supposed to be, but real-world reports from that are much lower than you get on an Ioniq. So I think in the real world, the Ioniq is still the most efficient car. The Kona Electric, I did a test a while ago. You might have seen the video on that, where we compared efficiency levels between an Ioniq and the Kona. The Kona being a much bigger, much taller, much bulkier car. You'd think aerodynamically it would affect it much more. Heavier as well, with a bigger battery, so a much higher performance motor. All of those things, just 10% difference. So, you know, instead of 5.5 miles per kilowatt hour, it was 5 miles per kilowatt hour. You know, in that region, it was around 10% difference. So nothing comes close to that. Of all the cars I tested in the summer before this Kona Electric, reaching 5 miles per kilowatt hour seemed like you could only do it at the end of your journey. It took quite a while to get going and build the efficiency up. And 5 miles per kilowatt hour was the exception, not the norm in all these other cars. And that was the i3, the Zoe, the Leaf, and what else did I test? Oh, you know, I can't remember all the ones I tested now. But the Kona, the experience of the efficiency is just different to all of those cars. 5 is the norm. 5 is, well, if you go under 5, then you're doing something wrong. in my world, in the way I drive and the roads I drive on, yes, if you're up and down motorways all the time and you're doing 70 miles an hour, you're not going to get 5 miles per kilowatt hour unless you've got a tailwind, or it's downhill, or it's really sunny, and you're able to keep a constant speed. 5 miles per kilowatt isn't as achievable in other people's worlds of how they drive. Here in Norfolk, 6 miles per kilowatt hour is normal if I go into the city in the summer. So the Kona Electric is absolutely fantastic for me from efficiency, and linked to that I use solar at home, so I'm trying to charge the car just from solar energy. The fact that it's so efficient means I don't need such a huge solar array. If I had a Model X on the driveway and I was only getting 2.5 to 3 miles per kilowatt hour from it, then I would have to use twice as much solar energy to go the same number of miles and charge the car. So I'd have to be charging it on public stations more and from home more. That's an interesting point, isn't it? Charging from the public stations. I've only probably twice I've had to charge while I'm out. All the other times that I've charged on public chargers are when they're free and it was convenient for me to do so, not that I really needed the charge. And that's the huge thing with the Kona. The more people I meet in and around Norfolk and other meetups, people with electric cars with smaller battery ranges are more used to charging it to 100% and running it closer to 0% and having to charge out while they're on journeys, and they don't mind doing that. They don't mind driving somewhere, charging, and then coming home. Where in the Kona, my experience is completely different to that. It's not like I'm in an electric car. I just drive it wherever I'm going and I drive back, and I don't have to bother about charging, because how often do I actually drive more than 150 miles in one direction before I turn around and come back again? I can cross several counties before I need to do that. So charging out is optional on most of my journeys. Again, not everyone's driving and where they go is the same as mine. You might be going from, I don't know, Lincolnshire to Wales or Scotland to Devon every few months, and in which case, of course, you're going to have to charge. You're going to have to fill up a car with petrol if you had a petrol car. But anyway, I have found that the Kona Electric gives you a different experience to many other EVs because of that range, because of that efficiency. It just reduces the amount of times that you have to think about charging or want to charge. So it has been extremely relaxing and pleasing to own as my first electric car. I was talking to a group of electric car owners at a Norfolk EV meetup the other day, and talking to Kona owners especially, and asked the question: if you crashed your car or it was stolen and you lost it, and therefore you had an insurance claim, you get some money back, but what car would you buy? Would you, place an order for a brand new Kona and pay the more than £40,000 here in the UK for the premium SE and wait a year to get it? Or would you buy the new Ioniq if that had a shorter order time? Or would you place an order for something different, the Peugeot E208, a smaller car, or go for the i3? What would people do? And most people have either said, because of the waiting time, they'd probably go for a Model 3, or they'd buy a used Kona because they don't want to wait 12 months to get another one. But there just isn't anything to compete with the Kona Electric. If you go for another car sub £40,000, you'll end up with a lesser capable electric car and less enjoyable car. So the only way of trading in your Kona or replacing your Kona is to spend more money, to think about a more expensive Model 3, an I-Pace, a Polestar. But even with some of those cars, yes, they're better from luxury and they're better from the quality, feel and performance and those sort of things, but are they a better electric car? Is the technology and the battery and the range better in them? And it's not. I mean, for me, again, thinking about the efficiency and trying to run my car from solar, what would I buy? And there isn't anything. Even if I went for the Ioniq, which is nice and efficient, I would compromise, because I really like the shape and the size of the Kona. So if I went for the Ioniq, which is lower down, yes, I'd get used to it, but it wouldn't be as good as we off-road going into the fields for crackers, hoopers and agility that we do with them. So there are some compromises to having a lower down car. So I suppose an e-Niro would be a great compromise, but they're as hard to get hold of as a Kona. So probably I'd be looking for a used e-Niro or a used Kona. Tempted to go for the Tesla, but it's just not practical for us as a family. Susan would like the Mini, and the Mini suits us. I think we could have the Mini as a second car, so maybe in our unique situation, maybe what I could do is place the order for another Kona and buy the Mini up front and put the 2 seats down in the back, and Cracker gets the boot and the 2 seat areas, and that might suit us as an interim until we get hold of another Kona. Yeah, so the purpose of this video is for anyone thinking about buying a Kona, anyone thinking about placing an order for a Kona. Is it worth it? How much better are they than other cars? Yeah, my opinion, they are extremely hard to beat, and yeah, it's a shame they're not as available because more people would want them. It's availability that puts most people off. I'm still loving the car. Nothing feels like it's wrong with the car. Nothing's wearing badly. I mean, even the brakes and the tyres look like new. The tyres are so hard. So no maintenance costs, no issues, no headaches, no hassles. The Kona is going to be good for many, many years, in my opinion. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that was useful for anyone thinking about buying the Kona. If you've got a completely different opinion, if you've got a Kona and you don't like it and don't agree with my summary of those things, leave us a comment below and let me know your experience. Anyway, see you again soon. Bye-bye.